The rain came down harder as I stood on the balcony, staring into the night. The city lights blurred through the curtain of water. I used to love this view, used to think it was ours, but now everything felt borrowed. Even the quiet, even the breath I just took. Behind me, the soft shuffle of footsteps warned me that Stephen was awake. His voice, low and warm, wrapped around me like a blanket. "You okay, Sharon?" I nodded slowly, not trusting myself to speak. His hand brushed my waist gently as he came closer, and I leaned back into him, like I had 100 times before. But tonight, there was something fragile about it. Not because of Stephen. God, he's been good to me. Patient, honest, real. But because I had seen Mohammed earlier. I didn't plan on it. I didn't want to see him. But fate has a twisted sense of humor. I was coming out of the gallery when I saw him standing across the street, under an old bookstore's awning, just like the ones he loved. He used to say bookstores were the only places time stopped. He hadn't changed much. Same beard, a little, fuller. Eyes still warm, still searching. He didn't see me at first. I should have turned, walked the other way, pretended I never noticed. But I didn't. And when his eyes finally found mine, he froze, like time stopped again. Just like he used to say, "Sharon," my name came out of him like a question and a confession. I crossed the street before I even decided to. We talked for maybe 5 minutes. Small talk, polite words, nothing heavy, but his eyes. His eyes told the truth. His mouth couldn't. He wanted something, a second chance. I didn't ask, but I knew, and it hit me like a punch in the gut. Not because I wanted it, but because once upon a time, I would have given anything to hear those words. But I wasn't that girl anymore. I wasn't waiting by the phone. I wasn't lying awake, wondering what I did wrong. I wasn't his. Now I was in someone else's arms. Stephen kissed the top of my shoulder, snapping me back to the present. "Can't sleep?" he asked. I turned around and managed a soft smile. Just thinking. His eyes searched mine for something. I could tell he noticed I wasn't all there, and that scared me. Because Stephen deserved better than half of me. "You sure you're okay?" he asked again, slower this time. I kissed him, not because I wanted to avoid the question, but because I needed to remind myself of what I had now, of who I had now. "I'm okay," I whispered. He nodded and went back inside, trusting me. God help me. That trust felt heavier than any lie. As I stood alone again, the rain easing into a mist, I remembered Mohammed's last words. "If you ever want to talk, I'm still here, still here." 3 years too late, and still here. What was I supposed to do with that? Mary, my best friend, always warned me he'd come back. "They always come back when you finally learn to breathe without them," she said. Once, wine drunk and heartbroken, she was right. And now I was holding my breath again. Mohammed was back, and my heart, traitorous, reckless, was listening. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of rain still tapping lightly against the window. Stephen had already gotten up, his side of the bed cold. I wrapped the blanket around me and sat for a minute, my fingers absently tracing the edge of the pillow where his head had been. I could hear him in the kitchen, humming that old Marvin Gaye tune he always hummed. When he was trying to be extra sweet, he did that sometimes, especially when he could feel I wasn't quite myself. I walked out slowly. He looked up, smiled like nothing in the world could ever go wrong. That smile. God, that smile was safety. "Hey, sleepyhead," he said. "You were out like a rock." "Yeah," I mumbled, accepting the mug he handed me. "Didn't even hear you get up. Didn't want to wake you." He kissed my forehead. You looked peaceful. I forced a smile and took a sip. Bitter. Just the way I liked it. Stephen went back to making eggs and toast, chatting about a client call he had later. Something about a contract extension. I nodded and responded when I had to. But inside my chest, there was this uncomfortable pressure. Like something was moving. Something waking up that I thought had died a long time ago. I didn't say anything about seeing Mohammed. Not because I was hiding it, not yet, but because I didn't know what it meant. Maybe it meant nothing. Maybe it was just a weird glitch in the universe. A test. Later that day, Mary called. She never liked texting. Said it was for people who didn't have the guts to say what they really felt. You sound off, she said, without even saying hello. I laughed softly. You always say that. Because you're always trying to. Hard to sound okay. So, I hesitated, then blurted it out. I saw Mohammed. She went dead silent for a second. I heard her inhale, long and sharp. Damn. Yeah, where? Outside the gallery. He was just there. What did he say? I told her everything. How he looked, what he said, what he didn't say, but made me feel anyway. Mary less, out a bitter laugh. I told you he'd come back. They always come crawling back once they see you living without them. It wasn't like that, I said. He didn't beg or anything, but he wants you back. That's what you're really saying. I stayed quiet. You're not thinking of meeting him again, are you? She asked, voice sharp now. No, I lied. Because I was. Not because I wanted him, but because I wanted closure. Or so I told myself. Maybe I needed to hear it from his mouth. Why he left. Why he never looked back. Why he's looking now. Later that evening, Stephen went out for a work dinner, and the silence in the apartment grew thick. I stared at my phone for a long time before I finally typed a message. If you still want to talk, I'm free tonight. The reply came too fast. Tell me where. I met him at the old pier, the one we used to go to when we were still stupidly in love. It was quieter now, with most of the food trucks gone, and the sea wind colder than it used to be. He was already there when I arrived, hands in his pockets, rocking on his heels like a man who didn't know what to do with regret. Sharon, he said, softer this time. I walked right up to him, stood still, arms crossed. Why are you here? His face twisted a little, like the question hurt. I don't know what to say that doesn't sound selfish. Try anyway. I messed up. I thought I was doing the right thing by letting you go. I wasn't ready. I thought I'd just ruin you if I stayed. You did ruin me, I said, quietly. And then I had to rebuild myself without you. He blinked hard, jaw tightening. I know. I see that now. And I hate myself for it. I didn't say anything. I couldn't, because part of me still remembered what his arms felt like, and another part, the one that loved Stephen, was terrified I still cared. He stood there like he wanted to say more, but didn't know how. His eyes kept searching my face, like he was hoping to find something still there, some crack he could slip through. I hated how familiar it felt, how even now, after all this time, part of me still remembered the way he used to hold me when I was falling apart. You don't get to just show up and say you hate yourself, I said finally, arms still crossed. You don't get to speak like that and expect me to feel sorry for you. I don't expect anything from you, he said quietly. Not anymore. Sharon, I needed to see you. I needed to know you were okay. I am, I snapped. I'm more than okay. I'm happy now. He nodded, but his face didn't believe me. With him? He asked. I didn't answer right away. I should have said yes. Stephen deserved a yes. But the way Mohammed asked, so careful, so broken, it made my chest tighten. Yeah, I said finally. Steven's a good man. I'm sure he is. He looked out toward the water, breathing deep like he was trying to swallow something heavy. I followed his gaze. The sea looked like it was holding secrets too. I used to come here after we broke up, he said. Sat on that bench over there for hours, thinking about how badly I screwed up. You had my number, I said coldly. You could have called. I thought you hated me. Figured you moved on. Everyone said you would. And if I did, so what? That gave you the right to just vanish without a word. You think it didn't tear me apart, wondering what I did wrong. His head dropped, and he ran a hand through his hair. You didn't do anything wrong. I was the one who couldn't handle being loved like that. My heart clenched. Stupid heart. Always too soft for this man. I don't know what you want me to say, I whispered. Nothing, he said. I just wanted to look you in the eyes and say sorry. Not for me. For you, you deserve that much. I turned to leave. I couldn't. Keep standing there. It felt like if I stayed a second longer, I'd crumble. Sharon, he called after me. I stopped, shoulders tight. Don't, I said. Just don't. I walked away, fast, before my eyes betrayed me. I didn't look back. When I got home, Steven was already back. He was in the kitchen again, this time cleaning up. He looked over his shoulder and smiled when he saw me, but I could tell by the way his smile faltered that something was off. Hey, he said. Where were you? I opened my mouth, but nothing came out at first. He waited. I saw him again. I admitted. I went to talk to him. He put down the glass he was holding. Why? I don't know. I thought I needed to hear it. The apology. Did you get it? I nodded slowly. Yeah, I got it. Steven didn't speak. He looked at me for a long time, and I felt stripped bare. I love you, Sharon, he said, finally. But I'm not going to compete with a ghost. If he still has a piece of you, I need to know. I stepped forward, reaching for him. He doesn't. Not anymore. But I wasn't sure if I was saying it for him or for myself. He let me hold him, but his silence said more than words ever could. Steven didn't say much for the rest of the night. He wasn't cold. Not exactly. But something had shifted. I could feel the wall, quiet but solid, between us. And I didn't blame him. He had every right to feel what he felt when he finally lay beside me in bed, his back turned. I stared up at the ceiling. I tried to listen to the steady sound of his breathing. Tried to convince myself that everything would go back to normal tomorrow. But deep inside, something ugly and real gnawed at my gut. Because even after everything Mohammed did, even after the way he left, I had looked into his eyes and felt something pull. Not love, not anymore, but memory. And memory is dangerous when you're trying to move on. The next morning, I didn't hear from Steven before he left for work. Just a quiet door click and the distant sound of his car. No note, no message. That silence stung more than I expected. Mary came by around noon. I didn't even call her. She just knew. She always did. So, she said, dropping her bag and sitting on the edge of my couch, like she owned the place. How bad was it? Bad, I sighed, curling into the other end of the sofa. I told Steven that I saw him again, that we talked. Mary winced. Damn, brave or stupid? Maybe both. She leaned forward, eyes locked on mine. Do you still love him? I opened my mouth, but the words didn't come. I don't know what I feel. It's not love. Not really. It's just unfinished. She finished for me. Exactly. She sat back, arms folded. You gotta be real careful, Sharon. Because if you're not sure, you'll end up losing the man who is sure about you. Steven's a good one. Rare. And he's not gonna wait around while you sort through ghost feelings. I know, I said quietly. Later that evening, I got a message from Mohammed. Just 3 words. Can we talk? I stared at it for a long time. My thumb hovered over the screen, like answering him was some kind of betrayal. I didn't reply. Instead, I waited until Stephen got home. He looked tired, emotionally more than anything. We sat at the dinner table, barely eating. The silence felt heavier than the food between us. I'm sorry, I said suddenly. He looked up, surprised. I shouldn't have gone to see him, I added. Not like that. Not without telling you first. He nodded slowly. But you did. I had questions that only he could answer, and I thought I needed to hear them to move forward. Did it help? Yes, I lied. It just reminded me of why I left that chapter behind. Stephen sat with that for a while. Then he pushed his plate away and leaned on the table with both arms. Here's the thing, Sharon. I love you. I really do. And I've been all in from the start. But I'm not going to stand here waiting for you to compare me to someone you used to love. I'm not comparing. Yes, you are, he said firmly. Even if you don't mean to. I see it. In your eyes. In the way you drift sometimes. Tears burned behind my eyes. But I blinked them away. I don't want to lose you. I whispered. Then you need to decide. Right now. Are you here with me? Or are you still out there chasing closure? I opened my mouth to say I was here. But I couldn't. Not with full honesty. Not yet. I need a day, I said. Just one. Day to clear my head. He nodded, jaw tight. One day, Sharon. That's all I'm giving. And just like that, the clock started ticking. The next morning felt different. Time didn't move the same way. Everything felt too loud, too still. I wandered the apartment like a stranger in my own life, touching things just to make sure they were real. The corner of the couch where Stephen always sat, the worn edges of our shared bookshelf, the mug he always used for green tea. It was like saying goodbye without saying it. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't leave a note. I just stepped out for air, for clarity. That's what I told myself. I didn't know where I was going until I ended up outside a small coffee shop near the pier. It wasn't the place Mohammed and I used to go to, but it was close enough to echo something in my chest. I sat near the window, ordered a tea I barely touched, and stared outside as the clouds rolled in. My phone buzzed. Mohammed, if you're free, I'm nearby. I didn't think. I just replied. Same cafe as last time. 15 minutes. 15 minutes turned into 10. He walked in like he didn't need to ask where I was. Like his heart still pointed to me automatically. He looked tired. Not the kind of tired you fix with sleep, but the kind that comes from years of carrying things you never talked about. He slid into the seat across from me. Offered a weak smile. Thanks for coming. I shrugged. I didn't come for you. I came. For me. He nodded. That's fair. We sat in silence for a while. The kind that presses on your chest like weight. You said you weren't ready before. I said finally. Not ready for what? For you, he answered. For the kind of love you gave. I didn't know how to handle something real. I thought I had to earn it first. Be better. Be more. So you left? I thought disappearing would hurt less than staying and messing everything up. Well, it didn't. It shattered me. His eyes darkened with regret. I know. I've lived with that every single day. You don't get to do that, Mohammed. You don't get to come back and rewrite what happened. I'm not trying to rewrite it. I'm trying to face it. I leaned back, arms folded. And what happens after this little heart-to-heart? You expect me to pick you? Leave the man who stayed for the one who ran? No, he said quickly. I'm not asking for anything. I swear. I wanted to tell you something I never said before. I raised an eyebrow. I loved you, he said softly. I was just too damn scared to show it right. I looked away. That one sentence hit too hard. I don't need your love now, I said. I needed it back then, when I was crying myself to sleep. When I blamed myself for not being enough. I needed it when I begged the universe to just bring you back. But now it's too late. He nodded again. Didn't fight it, didn't beg. Just sat there in silence, with the truth laid out like broken glass between us. I stood up. I don't hate you, I said. But I don't owe you anything, and I'm done carrying the weight of your regrets. He didn't stop me. He just watched me walk out, his hands still folded on the table, like a man praying. I walked until my legs hurt, until the cold air sobered every stupid feeling I still had. Then I went home. Stephen was there, sitting on the couch, waiting. Our eyes met. Well? He asked. I didn't speak right away. I walked to him, knelt in front of him, and placed my hands on his knees. I went to see him, I said. Not to chase something, to bury it, for good. Stephen didn't flinch. He waited. I choose you, I whispered. I should have said it yesterday, but I was scared. Not of losing you, of not being worth the love you give me. Just like he was. His face softened a little, but he still didn't smile. Not yet. You sure? He asked. I nodded. I'm done looking back. He took my hand, pulled me up into his arms, and for the first time in days, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. The weeks that followed weren't magical. They weren't some movie montage of healing and happy endings. They were real, quiet, awkward, filled with little silences and slow rebuilds. Stephen never said it out loud, but I knew he was still watching. Me. Not because he didn't trust me, but because he was scared to hope too much. That's the thing about love after betrayal. It's never loud, it's cautious, careful. It walks around like it doesn't want to break anything. I started cooking. More. Dumb little meals we both ended up laughing about because they were usually disasters. I'd burn the rice or undercook the chicken, and Stephen would smile and eat it anyway. And every time he said, "It's not that bad," I knew he wasn't talking about the food. He was talking about us. We didn't bring up Muhammad again. Not directly, but the ghost of him still lingered in the corners of our days. Sometimes I'd catch Stephen staring out the window, his jaw tight, and I knew what he was thinking. He didn't say it, but I heard it loud and clear. Is she really over him? One night, as we lay in bed, I rolled over and rested my head on his chest. His heartbeat was steady, calming, like a drum calling me home. Do you ever think about walking away? I asked softly. He didn't answer right away. I thought about it. He admitted. That day, when you asked for time, I thought, maybe it was over, and you stayed anyway. I stayed because I've never loved anyone the way I love you. And if I walked away, I'd have to live with the what if for the rest of my life. I closed my eyes, breathing in his scent. I'm scared too, I whispered. Of what? That I'll never be enough to undo what I did to you. That even if I stay, some part of me broke your heart. He wrapped his arms tighter around me. You didn't break me, Sharon. You just scared me. But love's not about being perfect. It's about staying, even when it hurts. Those words stayed with me, echoed in the days that followed. One afternoon, Mary called with some news. You'll never guess who just announced he's leaving the city, she said. I didn't even have to guess. Mohammed. Yep. Packing up. Moving out west. Said he's done chasing shadows. Something in me shifted. Relief? Sadness? Closure? I didn't know. Maybe all of it. He told me to tell you goodbye, she added. Said he wouldn't. Reach out again. He didn't want to disrespect what you have now. I nodded, though she couldn't see it. Good. That's good. That night, I told Stephen. He's leaving, I said, curling into his side on the couch. Mohammed, he's moving away. Stephen's hand paused where it had been stroking my hair. You okay? Yeah, I said. It's weird, but I actually am. He kissed the top of my head. Then maybe now we can really move forward. We sat there in silence again, but this time it wasn't heavy. It was full of something soft, something real, peace. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was stuck between two hearts. I was exactly where I belonged. Spring came early that year. The air smelled cleaner, the skies a little bluer, and the world felt like it was trying to start over. Maybe I was too. I'd stopped checking my phone for messages that never came. I wasn't watching shadows anymore, or wondering what ifs. Mohammed had faded into something distant. Important, yes, but closed. A chapter finally finished. Stephen noticed it before I did. He stopped looking at me, like he was bracing for bad news. He smiled more, laughed deeper. He touched me with ease again, not like I might pull away. One night we walked downtown after dinner. No plans, just us. The streets were buzzing with life, and for once, we didn't feel separate from it. We were just another couple out there, holding hands, laughing at nothing. You feel lighter, Stephen said, as we passed by a little jazz bar we used to go to. I am, I said. It's like something's finally out of my system. He stopped walking, turned toward me. You mean him? I didn't flinch. Yeah, him. We stood there for a moment. The neon lights from the bar painted us in a warm, flickering glow. I want to believe you, he said. You can, I replied, because I'm not the woman I was when he left, and he's not the man I waited for. What we had, whatever it was, died the day he walked away. Stephen reached up and brushed my cheek with his thumb. I believe you. I just needed to hear you say it, so I said it again. Slower, firmer. I choose you. I'm not looking back anymore. He kissed me then, deep, patient, certain. And in that kiss, I felt everything I ever needed to know about love, about healing, about staying when it's easier to run. A few days later, we went to visit Stephen's parents for the weekend. I hadn't seen them since all the tension started, and I was nervous, unsure if they'd picked up on the storm we'd been hiding. But when we walked in, his mom hugged me longer than usual. His dad handed me a drink and said, "Good to see you again, Sharon," like he meant it. Over dinner, they teased Stephen the way parents do when they're proud, and I laughed without pretending. I didn't feel like I was performing anymore. I felt like I belonged there, with him, with them, in that life. Later, as we lay in the guest room, Stephen turned to me and whispered, "Marry me." I blinked, unsure I heard him right. What? I don't have a ring right now. No speeches. I don't want to keep waiting for the perfect moment. I've waited long enough. So, yeah, marry me. I stared at him, heart pounding. Part of me thought he was asking out of fear, some lingering insecurity that needed fixing, but the look in his eyes said otherwise. It wasn't desperation, it was peace, like he'd made the decision long ago, and now he was just ready to speak. I don't need a ring either, I whispered. Yes. He grinned like a boy who just got away with stealing something, pulled me into his chest, and held me like I was something sacred. I knew I loved you when you burned pasta 3 nights in a row, and still smiled at me like I was lucky to be there. He mumbled, I knew I loved you when you stayed, even when I gave you 1,000 reasons not to. That night, we didn't talk about the past. We didn't need to, because the future had finally arrived. Quiet, simple, ours. The wedding was small, Not because we couldn't afford something bigger, but because neither of us wanted the noise. After everything we'd been through, the heartbreak, the healing, the heavy silences, we didn't need an audience, just a few people who mattered, just truth, just us. Mary stood by my side, fierce and beautiful as ever. She smoothed down my veil and whispered, "You sure you're not dreaming this time?" I laughed softly. "If I am, don't wake me up." Stephen looked nervous as hell when I walked toward him. But not because he doubted me. It was the kind of nervous you get when everything you want is finally within reach. He kept swallowing, kept his hands clenched, like he wasn't sure this moment could really be his. But it was. And when I reached him, and he took my hands in his, everything else faded. We didn't write vows. We just spoke from the heart. "I loved you even when it hurt," he said, voice shaking. "And I'll keep loving you even when it's hard, because you're not perfect, and neither am I. But what we have, it's real, and I've never wanted anything more." I smiled through the tears. You stayed. When I broke down, when I couldn't even choose my own peace, you stayed. And I know now, that's what love looks like. Not words, not grand gestures, just showing up every single day. I'm yours, Stephen, all of me. No more looking back. And just like that, we became husband and wife. No fireworks, no drama, just two broken people who finally stopped breaking each other. After the ceremony, we danced under fairy lights and laughed like the years hadn't aged us. Mary gave a toast, mostly roasts about my cooking, and Stephen's awkward karaoke nights. But at the end, she got quiet. "You guys fought for this," she said, holding back tears. "You earned it, and if that isn't love, I don't know what is." That night, we stayed in a little lake cabin Stephen had booked. Nothing fancy, just wood floors, soft sheets, and the sound of water lapping against the dock. We sat outside wrapped in a blanket, watching the moon ripple across the lake. "Do you ever think about him?" Stephen asked quietly. I didn't lie. Sometimes, not with feeling, just memory. Like a photo I forgot to throw away. He nodded. "That's okay. I just needed to know you weren't still living in that picture." "I'm not," I said. "I'm here. Fully. You got all of me, and this time I meant it with every fiber in me. Mohammed was my storm, my ending and my beginning. But Stephen, he was the shelter, the calm, the man who waded through the rain without an umbrella just to walk me home." I looked at him, this man who held my hand without needing to hold my heart hostage. This man who stood beside me when I didn't deserve it, and I knew. Some stories don't end with fireworks. Some end with silence, with peace, with love that chose to stay. The end.